Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Roxanna Deane, President of the League of Women Voters of the Comal Area. Welcome to this presentation by Bishop Michael Franklin on racing racism. The Comal Area League serves Comal and Guadalupe counties. We envision a democracy in which every person has the desire, the right, the knowledge, and the confidence to participate. The League is proud to be nonpartisan, neither supporting nor opposing candidates or political parties at any level of government, but always working on vital issues of concern to members and the public. Anyone 16 years and older may join the League, and it's not for women only. Please visit our website, lwvcomal.org, for more information. You can type your questions into the chat, or if you're on Facebook, write your questions as comments. It is my honor to introduce Bishop Franklin, who is a native Texan born in San Antonio. For over 33 years, Bishop Franklin has served as an international missionary through the Pentecostal assemblies of the world. In 2004, he established Christ Ministries International Church in San Antonio. In August 2009, he became the diocesan bishop of the European Council of Nations Eastern District, which consists of churches throughout Italy, Germany, Ukraine, Russia, and Eastern Europe. The New Braunfels MLK Association was formed in 2015, and Bishop Franklin has been the president since then. Two ideas came together to form the association. One was that of Bishop Franklin's teenage son, who thought that MLK Day should be a holiday for Comal ISD students. And the other was that of Henry Ford, who wondered why New Braunfels didn't have an MLK March. In 2016, MLK Day became a school holiday, and the inaugural march was held. Since June, Bishop Franklin has been working with the City of New Braunfels and other community leaders to address the issues of racism in this community. The group has been formally named the IDEA Forum. IDEA: inclusion, diversity, equity, and awareness. I thank Bishop Franklin for his leadership and am appreciative for the time he is spending with us this evening. Bishop Franklin.
Well, thank you, Roxanna. Thank you for that introduction. I certainly greet you all in love and in peace. And I'm very glad to have this opportunity just to share with you tonight and have an opportunity just to entertain some questions later. But I want to just once again thank you for the chance to participate with you tonight and to be a part of the League of Women Voters organization on a platform such as this. So thank you, Roxanna, thank you, Jerry, and to everyone else, I greet you all in the name of Christ. Thank you. All right, well, I guess I'll get started. Listen, I count it a privilege and an honor to be able to serve the community here in New Braunfels, and I do not take it lightly, nor do I do not allow myself to feel like I'm not vital to the plan that the city has for its success in unifying the community. And none of you should never feel like you're not vital to the success of this city. If you're a resident here and you have a heart to see things be better, you have a heart for the families of this community and for the businesses and for the young people, for our school districts, then you should get involved as much as you can and be a part of molding our community into an image that others can look at and model their efforts after us. And so I really appreciate the opportunity and thank you again for the invitation. Now, tonight's topic is racing racism. Racing racism. I know it sounds like it's a play with words, but it's not. It's something that we are all currently facing in this generation, in this present day, even right now. So it's not something of the past, but it's something that we are dealing with right now. You must remember, and we all can probably agree, that our nation has been in a perpetual struggle to outrun the ugly giant of this dark past called racism. And you have to be very mindful of the fact that the things that we face today in our nation must not be ignored. But it's not just us alone, because in history, racism was a driving force for global conquest and the transatlantic slave trade. It took the form of social actions, practices, and political systems that considered different races to be ranked as inherently superior or inferior to each other based on presumed shared inheritable traits, abilities, or qualities. But it was in the 19th century that some scientists subscribed to the belief that the human population is divided into races because some races were inferior to others, and that differential treatment of races was consequently justified. Listen, such theories are generally termed as scientific racism and institutional racism, also known as structural racism, state racism, or systemic racism, which simply is the collective failure of an organization or a nation to provide an appropriate and professional service to people because of their color, culture, or ethnic origin. Listen, I'm African American, and I know that there are times when we attempt to explain what we go through, it's hard to put in words because you have to almost be an African American to really comprehend and understand the struggle of our time, and not only that, but just our history and the neglect of being acknowledged in some of the great things that we have contributed to this nation and around the world. Now, some of you are probably very astute in history and in the studies of maybe of cultures and things of that nature. And you may have heard of many African Americans that have done great things in our history that aid us to get to where we are today. I don't know how many of you have ever heard of a man by the name of Dr. Mark Deane. Um, Almost everything in your life has been affected by his work. Dr. Deane was an African American. Um, he was in the National Hall of Inventors, and he was the vice president of IBM. And he also had the architect of the modern day personal computer, which he patented himself. Not only that, but he had 9 patents on the computer that all PCs are based upon, even right now. And Dr. Deane, as I said, was an African American. But somehow, and this is what we have to face, somehow, uh, is it that we can celebrate the anniversary of the IBM personal computer without reading or hearing a single word about Dr. Dr. Deane. I don't know how that's possible when someone who had played such a vital role just in the creation of such a thing that is very beneficial for all of us today. And we sometimes, when those types of things are not being put on the table and acknowledged, you know, we see all of that, and I'm just using this as an example, as just another form of racism, or let's say our nation racing against racism and trying to ensure to keep that ugly giant as a footnote in its dark past. It wants to keep it in the dust, or let's say on the heels of his past. But there are too many things that has been contributed to this great nation of ours that we just cannot ignore. There are two things that work against many of the inventors today who have done things that has contributed to our well-being in our everyday living. I mean, you got individuals like John Stannard. He was the inventor of the refrigerator. You got George Sampson, who created the clothes dryer. You got Alexander Miles, who created the elevator. You have Louis Littlemore, who was the one who helped to invent the electric lamp. All of these inventors, they all share two things. One, they changed the landscape of our society, and two, society relegated them to the footnotes of history. And this is where, we have to begin to understand that we must be effective of ensuring that if we're going to be able to be successful in dealing with the issue of racism, we have to be transparent, and we have to bring to the table those things that is part of our past to help us in our now, so that we can build a better tomorrow. And so it is very, very important that we comprehend that. Because listen to me, it is imperative for you to understand that our nation has arrived at a transitional momentum in history called a paradigm shift. Remember now, a paradigm shift is a change from one way of thinking to another. We have to begin to think differently about how we do things as a nation, and we have to begin to think differently about each other. And not only that, but think differently even about process, methods, and procedures in our businesses, in our schools. And we have gained some ground, and we're doing a great job. But yet and still, this race that we are in with racism is just still on our heels as a nation. At one point, we thought we were at a destination when we were able to elect for the very first time an African-American president. And we thought, all right, we accomplished something, we did it. This should put to rest the racism issue. But it didn't, it did not. It did not. We are still in that constant struggle of having to deal with all of the tenets of racism that still exists today, and we must continue to push forward. So we have to begin to think differently, and that's what it's going to take, because a paradigm shift is thinking differently, and that's what we must do. It is like a revolution. It's like a transformation, a sort of metamorphosis, because purposeful change just does not happen overnight, but rather it is driven by agents of change, such as the protesters that hit the streets. The protesters hit the streets because they decided that enough is enough. And so what did they do? They took it to the streets. And really, many of you know I'm a pastor, I'm a bishop. There is a prophetic utterance, there is a biblical scripture in the Old Testament, in the book of Isaiah 59:14, that speaks to this issue. I'm going to tell you what it says. It says, and judgment is turned away backward, and justice standeth afar off. For truth is fallen in the street, and equity cannot enter. Yea, truth faileth, and he that departed from evil, making himself a prey, and the Lord saw it, and it displeased him that there was no judgment. So you see, even the word of the Lord speaks on the issue of equity and judgment. He said truth failed in the street. So if truth failed in the street, guess what? It has to rise in the street. And it's dealing with judgment and equity. It's talking about being fair and fair judgment and being able to deal with issues in a proper manner that will benefit all. And so they took it to the streets. You got to remember what Dr. King said. Dr. King said, our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. So they took it to the streets because there were things that mattered to them when it comes to this nation and the relationship between different races, our culture and the culture of others. There were so many things that needed to be addressed that it got to the point to where the cup began to just overflow. And so, as I said, they took it to the streets, and that's where we are even now. But it's nothing new. They've been taking it to the streets and may continue to do so. I often tell the members in the church that I pastor, you know, life is a gift, but living life is an art form. And you have to be artistic in living life. And not only that, but a nation has to be artistic in their government as well, because the greatness of a artist is not by how many paintings he has painted, but the quality of those paintings. So it's not about numbers, or it's not about, you know, how much money we have as a nation, or how many people we have, or how many things we've done for this group or that group. It's about the quality of service. It's about the quality of service. And some of you have experienced different things in your life where you may have had a hard time at one season in your life. And there came a day when a door was opened unto you, and you walked through it and things got a little better. But the door that you walked through, was it a door that rendered quality service to you? Or was it a door that swung open and basically said, listen, I'm tired of you knocking on my door, come on in here. And it was very rude how you were welcomed in, but yet you were welcome in. So it's about the quality of service, about the quality of one's hospitality when you are allowed to come up on a particular platform. Such is the case when it comes to our businesses and organizations within America. When we as African Americans was finally permitted and allowed to enter into certain institutions, you know, it's about the quality of service. There's no sense of welcoming somebody in and still treat them like dirt, or be rude and not be polite. It's like having someone come to your house for dinner. You feed them, but the whole time you yelled at them, talk about them, and was not friendly. I should have just stayed home. And so you have to be very careful how we deal with each other in life and in living. So it's good. It's good for us to have such conversations that we have, because it's going to benefit us in the long run. But they took it to the streets, and that's what we do. We take it to the streets by either marching, or by speaking, or talking, or getting involved with other groups that are ready to do something to bring about changes that will unify the community. You must get involved. So that's what they did. They took it to the streets. And just like our illustrious Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Now, I use the word illustrious because it speaks of someone who was well known, respected, and admired for past achievements. Remember, it was in the mid-1950s that Dr. King led a national movement to improve the quality of life of African Americans against the injustices of racism and bigotry in our nation. And because his work exhibited the sacred power of leadership, Dr. King's life and legacy of the past was and is a catalyst for a paradigm shift for the now and the future. Yes, right now and the future. This is why we have the new Braunfels MLK Association with us today, because it's about extending the dream of Dr. King, and to be able to commemorate his work and his legacy by organizing the annual march and creating platforms of discussion, and to bring the community together. And I think for the last 5 years, it's just been a beautiful sight to see all of us come together and marching together in peace. It's in peace. City leaders and residents and other organizational groups and business owners and children and young people and just older people just walking together, because we all desire to be unified, and we all desire to be each other's keeper. There's something deep down in us to where we really want to help one another, and we want peace, not just in this city, but in our nation. And we want fairness, and we want to see everyone do their part to bring that about. So it's very important that we be mindful of such things like this. And listen to me. A successful leader like Dr. King is one who builds toward vision and not opposition. If we waste too much time always just yelling at each other and not really sitting down and listening, we'll never get nothing done. We have to build toward vision and not opposition. And we can't just keep making it hard making it hard for progress. When you make it hard for progress, then you're just building toward opposition. Let's build toward vision and get something done. And when we're able to do that, we can accomplish some great things in our community, in our state, and in our nation. So we need that kind of leadership, because when you deal with leadership is the ability to see and embrace an ideal while inspiring others to follow it, achieve it, and even be it. So a leader must always keep in mind that all eyes are fixed on him or her. And then the example we set will have a profound influence upon the lives that we lead. This is why leadership demands you have a clear vision of what you want to do, and be able to define and articulate the vision. Vision is always above your situation and in your future, never in your past. Visions are found in dreams. Therefore, we got to learn to dream like Dr. King dreamed. And when we learn that, we will find that eventually we will be able to strategically maneuver through a lot of the pitfalls that lay before us, but we can never give up. Never give up. Consistency always work. This is why it's imperative for you to learn to lead beyond your past and beyond yourself, because a leader never goes to triumph alone. If you show up by yourself, then you didn't do a good job. When you show up, you need to have somebody with you. It shows that you were effective at being able to translate what you feel in your heart and mind, and you wrote the vision and made it plain so others could read it. But if you show up by yourself, that does not help anyone. You have to be able to inspire others so that things can get done. So it is just required. It's required of us to utilize our abilities and skills to lead people to a determined destination with the least amount of harm and casualties. Because without the sight of the big picture, you will be framed into the oppression of another and begin to wonder why. You can't let others frame you. You have to be able to frame yourself. So you are the one that's responsible for how you act, how you talk, how you treat people. So there's a perception of you that will be inspiring. If you give people the wrong perception, believe me, you can never get nothing done. You have to be able to present yourself in a way that others find curious and that others could respect, even to the point to where they want to be part of what you're doing, so that together, that saying I always say, we work as a team, because teamwork makes the dream work. It makes the dream work. So if we are consistent, we will certainly get things done, because failure often occurs because there was no plans developed for what a person saw or believed. Plans involve strategy. Plans involves procedures. Plans involves resources. It involves time. Life experiences has a way of pushing you into doing things that you would not normally choose to do. And I believe that we are at that point now. The life experiences of this nation has pushed us to the point where we got to do something now. We no longer can ignore what we are going through. And I don't know if some of you have ever heard of the story about the frog that they put in a boiling water in a pot, and they took the pot and put it over a stove. And I know some of you may have heard it, maybe some of you haven't, but it's a powerful scenario, what I'm talking about, how they take this frog and put him in some boiling water, put a lid on the pot. Put this frog in some water, put a lid on the pot, put the pot on the stove, turn up the fire, and let the water boil. And as the water got hotter, the frog started trying to jump out of the pot. But every time he would try to jump out of the pot, he would hit his head on the lid. And it got to the point that he kept trying to get out of that pot, but he kept hitting his head on the lid of the pot. So eventually, the frog just stopped jumping. The frog no longer tried to get out of the pot. So the pot was removed from the fire, from the stove, from the flame, and the lid was taken off the pot. And the scientists took this spoon and started tapping on the side of the pot to try to get the frog to at least jump one more time. But the frog had already made up his mind. I tried once, I didn't get out. I tried twice, I didn't get out. I tried 3 times getting out of this pot. I tried many times, but I just cannot get out of this pot. So the frog decided, I'm just gonna sit here in boiling water and die. So the scientist, he tapped on it, but he could not get that frog to jump. Listen, if that frog would have had jumped just one more time, he would have gotten out of that pot. He would have been free. Now he didn't jump. He had the power to jump. He had the ability to jump. I mean, that was what he's supposed to do. He was designed to jump, but he did not. He just sat in the hot water, even though the lid was off the pot now. What happened to that frog? Well, the spirit of that frog was broken. And sometimes life will break you. Sometimes what we go through as a people, as a nation, because of our color, because of our race, because of where we come from, and we always are mistreated. And no matter how good we try to be in coping with things, you get tired, because it seems like every time you try to make progress, something happens to set you a step or two back. And even when it comes to many minorities who want to be successful, some make it through, others don't. It seems like doors keep closing on them. And because maybe the doors they're trying to walk through, there may be practices of systemic racism in that particular place, or in that city, or in that nation. It happens, and it's real, and you can never break through. And so people just get tired and they just give up, like the frog just gave up. He had the power and the ability, but he just gave up. So what happened to him? His spirit was broken. Listen, life can throw you a lot of punches, a lot of punches. And life really can't stop you from doing what you want to do. It really can't. But if life can break your spirit, you will stop yourself. So the frog basically stopped himself from jumping, but his spirit was broken. And that's the thing when it comes to race and racism. There were times, there were points where I have to say that this nation thought maybe the spirit of those who were trying to make change in our nation, change of equality. Y'all know the history, how we wanted to be equal. We wanted to be treated the same. Immigrants who would come over who was mistreated as well from other nations and just wanted a fair shake, but it was always pushed back. And so therefore, it can become very difficult to get ahead. But the key is you can never, never, never give up. And you have to keep trying to push forward if you want to be able to accomplish something great. And so within our community, the city of New Braunfels, one of the unique things about New Braunfels I see is that it is a very friendly and calm city. Yes, it has its history, but at the same time, I see some great things happening. And if we continue to work together and address the issues and the tensions that we have in this city now, even things that may have not happened yet, but they will probably visit us, we want to be ready to deal with all of that. But it has to start with a team, individuals like your organization, MLK Association, and others coming together on the platform on what we have established, the IDEA Forum, and being able to put things in place so that we can be ready to address issues that could arise in our future. So that's what it's about. Dr. King said, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of conflict and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. When it gets difficult, where are you standing? When you're challenged, when times get hard, and when we see our nation get to a point to where things are happening we never seen before, just the corruption, just the lawlessness, just the attitude of toward other races, just being bold and speaking out loudly of, these things could make you just want to throw your hands up and say, you know what, forget about it. It's never going to happen. I'm here to tell you it can happen. If Dr. King would have just threw up his hands and said, listen, we got to stop marching. It's never going to go anywhere. They're never going to give us a chance. If he just would have just threw his hands up and stopped, if he would have allowed the opposition to break his spirit, we wouldn't be where we are today. Oh my, we must continue to move forward and be about the business of the city in unifying those who live here and others who want to be a part, to the point to where there can be peace among us in a special way. Now, when it comes to the MLK Association, many of you know us. We believe that all men are created equal, regardless of race, regardless of gender. And we hold true to these beliefs. And not only that, but we demand equality of all individuals. And we have went on record denouncing and condemning in the strongest terms all racism, discrimination, and targeted violence against people of color, particularly such violence enacted by the hands of law enforcement. Some of you may remember how we were able to organize the Unity in the Community prayer vigil after the George Floyd incident. And that was a beautiful, beautiful gathering of us who was able to come down to the plaza. We had all the city officials there, and city council was there. We had the sheriff of Comal County, chief police, and others. We were all there, and it was a beautiful program. And those were steps toward things becoming even better and better. Because with one can put 1,000 to flight, two can put 10,000 to flight. That's what the Bible says. In other words, the more that we could bring together and work together as a team, we can put a lot of the foolishness to flight, and we can get down to some substance and really sit down and have a good meal together. And I think that it will result into the health and well-being of the city. And then I really, truly, truly, truly believe that. So we have called upon law enforcement officials to publicly denounce, even those individuals within their ranks who abuse their authority when interacting with people of color. We have called upon agencies to increase diversity training, to improve their procedures, even law enforcement to improve their policing procedures. I have a good working relationship. I had a good working relationship with the former chief of police and with the interim chief of police. I have a good working relationship with him as well. And matter of fact, we have been collaborating with one another, and we have sat down and we've been reviewing different policing procedures, and we have put some action steps together, and we're hoping we're going to be making recommendations to the city. And so we're hoping to see some things done in that area that I think is going to be helpful because, New Braunfels is one of the fastest growing cities in the nation. I don't know what number we are now. At one point, we were number 2. I'm not sure the number we are at now, but this is a fast growing city, a fast growing county. And so we just look forward to accomplishing some great things. And this is how we were able to get to a point. As you said, sometimes life will push you to a point where you got to do something. And so we got to the point where we had to sit down and said, okay, what do we need to do? We have to do something. And this is how the IDEA Forum was established, because it was in our hearts to get together like never before. I talked about coming together as a city, maybe having a forum. Years ago, I would talk about it. I said, what we need to get together a team. Need to be some type of community forum to where we can all come to the table and begin to build a structure for success. And lo and behold, we have arrived at that point. And I'm so glad that we have the willingness of the city council to support it. The mayor, who's very, very, very much a part of it and is vital to the plan, and it was in his heart as well. And so it was in the hearts of many. It's just that we had to come together in order to get some things done. And so we are glad about what we are accomplishing, and we hope to accomplish other things as we continue to advance forward in making efforts, taking steps and making efforts towards success of at least building a community where we can have better families, where there's going to be better relationships, where there can be platforms for others to be able to be acknowledged and to welcome into areas where they may have never been welcomed before, and to know that there's a presence to hold individuals accountable for the injustices, and at a level to where it's just not slipped under the rug anymore. We want to be able to address, not just when it comes to disparities in communities of color, but when it comes to our educational institution, when it comes to economics, when it comes to, the economy, when it comes to businesses, when it comes to individuals who may have been mistreated simply because of skills or non-skilled individuals. So just all kinds of things that we want to be prepared to address. And I hope that as we endeavor to continue to move forward, that we will certainly do that. So my admonishment to the city is to let us move forward with fervency. And when you deal with fervency, we have to be like a constant heat. We have to be like a constant heat. We have to be fervent in what we want to accomplish. So we have to move forward in fervency to succeed by becoming the reality of Dr. King's dream. And I believe that this can all be accomplished by improving the quality of life through a strong foundation of ethical practices that brightens the future of our children and our nation. I'm reminded of what Dr. King said when he said, in the end, we will be remembered not for the words. He says, in the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. You don't want to be that one that just remains silent, because in the end, are you with me? In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. So you want to ensure that you speak up. Something ain't right, speak up about it. And be a part of the solution. Be a part of getting some things accomplished. And I hope that some of you who are hearing me tonight will be, inspired to work more closely with groups that are attempting to do something in their cities. One of the things I would love to see happen, I talked with the police chief, and we're going to look more into it, is we would love to develop a civilian oversight structure. And what we want to accomplish in that is to have a civilian oversight structure with discipline power that includes a police commission and a civilian complaint office. Have a civilian complaint office in the community and set up a direct contact for that, so we can have a number of things maybe being able to come through that office and then be able to give oversight to the actions of such things to ensure that there is a response to the concerns of the city. The IDEA Forum is creating a survey that we plan to get out to the community, and hopefully we are able to get our hands on the pulse of the community and provide a way for everyone to be able to share their heart. Because the more information we have, the more tools will be available to us to be able to know what we need to do, where our focus should be in accomplishing some of the things we want to accomplish. And so I can say a whole lot more. I don't know how long I've been talking, so you have to let me know, Roxanna or Jerry. If I know, I think you gave me 30 minutes. Has it been 30 minutes?
It's been about 40 minutes, and we do have
Oh my. Okay.
And also,
all right.
I'm going to ask everybody, I have to click on your name to show your video, because I thought maybe Bishop would actually like to see our faces. He's been talking to the void and done such a great job because he's used to it. But maybe
Yes.
nice. So if I will ask you to turn on your video. But Jerry, would you go on with the questions?
Yes. We have a question. Do you want me to just read the questions?
Yes.
Okay. What are some of the recommendations that you will be presenting to the new Braunfels City Council?
What are some of the recommendations? Regarding which agency, talking about law enforcement agencies, or where do you want me to? Is the question more specific when you say recommendations? Let me share this with you. Okay. We have short-term goals. We have long-term goals, and there are several things that we're working on. One of the things we have a recommendation we're putting together that we want to submit to the city, and that recommendation is to educate the community of diversity issues, and so we want to be able to educate the community about what's really going on within the city and how they can be a help to address it, and hopefully to inspire others that there is something that is going on. We really want to know about it. And when it comes to reviewing some of the policing procedures, there are several recommendations we have concerning that. We're recommending that there will be new training done for new officers and existing officers, such as tactical communication. That's the study of verbal communication meant to help an officer to de-escalate situations. So we're recommending that. We're recommending mental health response, ensuring that that we have mental health personnel available at those times when police officers are dealing with someone with mental health issues. And I understand we do have a couple individuals that's already operating in that capacity, but we might need more than a couple. We're dealing with things about recommendations for when it comes to their duties to intervene, how they should intervene with situations, and to ensure that they're not just intervening because of a person's color or their ethnic background. And so, and there's a lot of details I'm leaving out of that, but I'm just throwing some things out to you. We're going to be dealing with asking the city when it comes to enhancing cross-cultural relationships, enhancing platforms for collaboration with different groups, especially groups that sometimes can be difficult maybe to deal with, but we just can't ignore those groups. We have to invite groups or individuals, that so that we can find some peace, that we can come to some type of solution to be able to bring some type of working relationship where we can both work together in a special way. So we are really attempting to make available to the community a platform where they could really feed us information. We are going to be creating a dashboard. A dashboard is where people can be able to go online or to an app, and there will be a lot of resources available, as well as where they could leave their concerns and information to where we can be able to respond in a manner to where that people feel like they've been heard. We don't want to just let time expire, months or maybe a year go by and they never got a response. We want to be able to respond to the concerns of the individuals. And we hope that some of these things that we are working on will be very helpful. In our survey, we have outlined questions about education, healthcare, housing, food, even when it comes to the city government and how it operates. And so there are a number of things that we have that we're talking about and that we're working on and hoping to bring some light maybe to some areas to where it will aid us in our efforts to be success in bringing about unity in the community, and more importantly, just an atmosphere of individuals being able to feel safe and secure, and knowing that we can support one another and trust what the city has planned for our future. And so I'm hoping these things will be helpful.
We have a couple more questions. Who are the members of the IDEA Forum? How often do you meet?
Well, we have a meeting actually tomorrow, and there's about 17 to 18 of us on it now. And our main focus has been building the structure of the IDEA Forum with the intent to bring more people to the table, as once we got the structure solid as far as the purpose, the vision, short-term goals, long-term goals, and begin to deal with some of our issues that we are dealing with now, and bring some type of, have a method in place to where we can be able to address it. And as others come on, we already have a vehicle ready for them to join us in that's moving. And so we hope to have this maybe by the end, maybe by next quarter, we'll be inviting more people to the table. We meet at least so far. We've met. This would be our this would be either our 5th or 6th meeting officially as a forum. So this would be our 5th or 6th meeting, and it looks like we may have met at least once a month, and we might have to start doing twice a month, depending upon our deadlines of trying to get things accomplished. So we're meeting often, but in between those meetings, we're always communicating with one another. We have a particular app that we channel all of our correspondence through, so that we can all know how far we are on the assignments that we have. So we stay in constant communication. But as far as meeting with one another, I think this is about our 5th or 6th meeting so far.
Okay. And Joyce Doyle had another question. And I think it applies too to some of the situations we've seen in the New Braunfels area. Her question is, how should we respond to the Proud Boys who burned Black Lives Matter banners in Washington, D.C.?
Well, in Washington, D.C. Well, listen, you know, I'm a man of the cloth. I'm a man of the cloth, and so certainly my approach will be from a Christian perspective, and not to hate anyone, and might not like the act that they do. Undoubtedly, people's actions can be very disturbing, but I know that there's always some good in every person. There is some good in every person. So we have to be effective at being able to reach that individual as much as we can. Now, as far as how you react to that, again, like I've been talking about, you have to be able, sometimes one-on-one with individuals, you know, you can have good conversation, collaboration, but you have to be able to connect with others who are building platforms, like I said about us here in New Braunfels, a community of individuals who are building platforms so that when such things like that happen, say someone want to burn a flag here in New Braunfels, well, we had someone to tie a Black Lives Matter flag underneath a truck, and they were dragging it down the street. We responded to that as a forum. We had one of our members to meet with that particular group, and had a very good 4-hour discussion. And then the second meeting, the mayor and the chief police and others met with them and kind of made it clear what the guidelines are and what is allowed and not allowed. And of course, the workers of that group were very receptive to the directives that was given them, and they made it clear that they were certainly going to deal with those individuals because that's what they're all about. And so we was able to effectively address it, because some were upset that we addressed it and felt like, you know, hey, what about this? What about that? But the point is that being able to work together as a team to address issues like that. This Bible tells us that in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. So there is safety when you approach things as a group and you have different minds coming together so that you can make sure that you cross all your T's and dot your I's to be able to address the situation. Because if you try to do something one-on-one, you can end up in an argument and might not get nowhere. But how do you address it? How do you be effective? Is use the wisdom that we all have and share. And hopefully we can just sit down and talk and collaborate and get some stuff done.
Okay, and we have 2 more questions. I think they're sort of related and related to what you were just speaking about. Al Torres wondered what other specific issues or problems you are trying to resolve. And Daphne asked, how do we respond to the extremist and racist in our own community, e.g. the local leader of white nationalists who lives in Canyon Lake? How do we preempt their influence in the public sphere?
Well, I can say that there are inroads being made now. We have had some communication, and we have extended a hand to talk and to try to see how we can work together. So, like I said, it starts with, you have to come to the table, and you have to be able to, people's concerns are just as real as your concerns are. And no matter what their perception or perspective is, you know, people see things a certain way. And if you can just get them to sit down and talk and let them know, hey, we're willing to work with you, and let's talk about what concerns you, and let's see how best we can address those concerns, and let's see if we can at least come to a solution. And so diplomacy is very, it's a very powerful tool, and we hope to through the group of the IDEA Forum, we hope to exercise that too as much as we possibly can with such groups like that and others.
Jerry?
I hope I answered that question.
I think you're making us do the hard work of actually talking to people that we don't like.
Well, that's what it takes.
And Daphne has just asked again, let us know how we can help. So I think I get the sense people are wondering how can we help in what the IDEA Forum is doing.
Well, there are there are things that we are preparing because we want, as I said, there's a survey that we're about to put out, and we're about to release ways for individuals to be able to share their concerns so we can know what we need to focus on. But if you want to be of help, what we basically need is your name, your email, and how you would like to help, or if you're just ready to help any kind of way. And I can pass that information on to Crystal, and we want to build up a supporters, a supporters list of individuals who are ready to go to work, so we can start assigning people to different assignments that we're working on, and hopefully, you can be a part of the progress of one of those departments. But I would say, of course, those of you who know me, Jerry and Roxanna, if there are individuals who would like to help, send me their name and their email address, and I can say to the forum, listen, these individuals would like to be a part of some of the things we're doing. How can we utilize them? Where do we need more help? And let's place these individuals in certain facets of our actions and let them know, can you help us in this area? Can you help us in that area? So I can say from this point that if we have some that is online now and you're interested in it, Jerry, if I can just get their name and email, I will present a list of individuals to them. These individuals want to help, and because we need all the help we can, and we can start utilizing their skills and expertise, and we will contact them and let them know, hey, this is how you can help us in this particular area, unless there's a specific area they would like to help in.
So if anyone who's interested, if you'll put your contact information in the chat link, then I'll be sure to get it to Reverend Franklin. So I have just maybe one more question. There are a lot of us who don't actually live in New Braunfels, and we're concerned about the county as a whole and the sheriff's office, which oversees much of law enforcement in the rest of the county. How do you see, or strategically, is the timing not right? How do we take what's happening in New Braunfels and make it bigger? Or is it not the right time?
You talking about the IDEA Forum, make it bigger?
Right. The idea, yes, to encompass the entire county.
Well, we are attempting to do that now. We have individuals that's part of the county that's actually, I don't remember all the names offhand, that's actually working closely with us. Sheriff Reynolds is part of the diversity forum as well. You all know Sheriff Reynolds, right?
Yes. So okay. So even though it's under the auspices of the New Braunfels city government, it is still looking at a bigger picture.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Matter of fact, yes. It's a big. We're looking at the bigger picture, and as I said before, the county, there were county officials that was included in the initial structure building of the forum, and I know Sheriff Reynolds has been to a couple of meetings already, and him and I had a good talk. So he certainly the county is very in favor of working with us. I mean, but some of the things that we're talking about as far as policing procedures and things of that nature. More specifically dealing with the New Braunfels police, the Comal County, that's a different area. And we hope to, at any time, we have open doors. We have open doors to be able to provide some input and recommendations. And if there's anything that we can do, anything that needs to be addressed, as I said, we definitely have the ear of the sheriff.
Okay. Thank you very much. This was very informative and inspiring and hard, but I guess there's no easy way.
It's hard.
We're not gonna, there's no easy way, but
Roxanne?
thank you for inspiration. Yes.
May I say, this is Maria.
Hi, Maria.
Hi.
How you doing?
I know, okay, hi, Bishop, hi, Joyce. I'm on the committee, I'm on the IDEA Forum, and I've
Yes.
been here since September. And
Yeah.
just to add to what the Bishop is saying, it is my impression that we're still not quite clear, at least some of us are not quite clear what the structure of the, which way we're headed. I think we're headed, the intention, the mission, the purpose, all that is great, and the goals are great. But we're still working on how we're gonna get to the next step, and the next step, and the next step. So there's a lot of still clarification. Tomorrow's meetings, I hope we get a little bit more clarification. I happen to have volunteered for the goal, action steps for the goal that dealt with surveying the community, along with a UT Director of Disabilities, Dr. Amy Sharp, and Pam Moreno, who is with LULAC. I am representing LULAC as well. But Pam Moreno, who is an immigration attorney, the three of us were supposed to come up with some action steps, but we talked among ourselves and said, why are we at, Bishop, this is not your fault or anything, but why are we at action steps when we haven't assessed the community? Maybe it has been done, but we don't know yet. Really, how have we gone to the right people in the community, the grassroots, etc., and asked the questions, what is the problem? And tell us what the problems are, and then prioritize those things, and then come up with some recommended solutions. But we're getting in, what we feel is getting into solutions without thoroughly yet, but maybe it has been done. And I just missed it because I came in late in the game.
Well,
that's it. Anyway, that's the only way to say that. And
Yeah.
if we had more time, I would tell you a little bit about how I fit into personally as a minority, as a Hispanic, as a
Yes.
Texan, into this whole issue of that the Bishop was talking about, and the collective failure, I would really love to talk to somebody about that one day, if ever asked.
Mhm. Well, I can assure you that tomorrow you'll have more clarity, and the action steps is referring to action steps that needs to be taken to get the survey component up and running, and so that you can access and get your hands on being able to evaluate the concerns once those concerns come in. But we have to first get that survey completed so that we can get it out. So the action steps is, what are the next steps? What all have we accomplished? What needs to be done next?
Okay.
Now, Crystal has gave us a report, and there has been something, maybe you missed a couple of sessions of their meetings, but I know that they did a couple of, they're able to, they got a few things together, and they're ready to give, I believe they were supposed to be giving a report tomorrow. So I hope that, okay. Well, I hope then we're able to receive that. I know that other departments will be giving their report. I'll be giving my report along with the chief of police. So we have some things that we are ready to move forward on. So yes, it's a lot of work. Listen, it's a lot of work. What we're talking about takes work. It takes work. It really does. But we cannot be weary in well doing, for we will reap if we faint not. So we can't give up. We are making some steps. We are going to accomplish some things. Let's just continue to be steadfast and going in a direction that we know is going to reap good results. And so I encourage you to keep on keeping on, and it's all coming together. It's all coming together, and anything that's of value will have a struggle, because true success is always involves struggle. Success without struggle is not real success at all. But success that involves struggle, that's genuine success. If someone just give you $1 billion and you never worked for it, you didn't do anything to get it, but you call yourself a success, you really don't know what success is because you didn't have to work for it. You didn't struggle for it. It's not really in your being. But when you have to work at something, it makes it really valuable to you. And so what we're working on is something of great value. And I know we're going to reap the benefits thereof.
Well, thank you so much. And thanks, Maria.
Yes.
And thank you, Bishop Franklin. We look forward to what's going to happen. We all want to do our part, and we appreciate that you took this time with us. I'm going to stop the recording.